Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Fiction Star. So let's begin to the new series. The series name is, What If Naruto Teleported in Helltaker? So do not wasting any more time. Let's begin to the video. In a red sky, as the screams of humans had been the best sound on this hellish global, it did not make the fact that nowadays of all days, changed into something that even the pits of hell would want. It was silence. As the view over a massive stone metropolis was a big skyscraper made with the purest white steel. At the pinnacle ground of that constructing have been two strains of black stone demonic searching statues, all their hands crossed menacingly. Inside, the far end of the room turned into a girl, a lady with beauty remarkable if every person had to ask. That is the leader of hell, the CEO of the underworld. The first fallen angel that rebelled in opposition to heaven, Lucifer. Morningstar. Lucifer is a brief woman with faded pores and skin, purple irises, a black arrow-tipped tail, and silvery white hair. Her hair is long, and worn tied at the end, with bangs stored in place via a black, spiked hairband. Her horns are white and jagged. She has slender eyes. Below her left eye is a mole. She wears a black match with a red-collared blouse underneath, whole with white gloves, a black tie, and her sigil on her lapel. Typing away on her PC, the woman stopped as she once more hesitated on you make a decision on torturing a soul. Damn it, I can't show weakness, she muttered in hate, her moderate accent turning into more suggested in her tired and bitter temper. Ring of heresy, ring of lust, ring of greed, she shouted furiously, typing out the justified punishment she deemed the bastards that have been sent to her area. Much like GH, she stood throwing her screen out from the window, then her keyboard and mouse, followed with the aid of a picture. Her eyes softened as she checked out the arm that became approximately to throw the item, searching at a young man looking worried because the person took his photo. Why, did you have to pass? She stated tenderly, brushing her thumb at the picture's cheeks. She fell to her knees, tears falling from her cheeks at the unfairness of the sector she needed to live in. Why did you need to go away us whilst you gave us a lot happiness, you silly man? The CEO of the underworld whispered, even as clutching the picture to her chest as tightly as feasible. She leaned over as she could not combat it anymore. Today become the day her lover died in her fingers. The floor of justice, 8th floor, in a ground in which all you can see is exercising system as a long way as one may want to see with one girl. Continuously punching a sandbag, that was the best sound that whatever may want to hear in this floor. Ha ga! She shouted with each punch she dispatched to the bag as it flew away in an arch sample earlier than letting it return with greater pressure, and once more sent it flying. This was painful as the sandbag was filled with sand that could wreck a bodybuilder with a frame that become made of pure muscles. Yet this female changed into effortlessly sending it again efficaciously regardless of the ache her arm changed into in. The blood that turned into leaking from out of her punching glove as she persisted to break her limb apart for the sin of being not able to shield him. I need to have made it. I should have saved him, she shouted with an indignant tone unusually for all people who is aware of that is Justice, the former excessive prosecutor of hell. She, like Lucifer, is a quick demon girl with light skin, a black arrow-tipped tail, and silvery white hair. She has a quick ponytail at the again of her head, tightened with a crimson bandana. Poking out of her hair are two small black horns which might be rounded at the suggestions. She has white eyebrows and wears shades, masking her gray colorless eyes, her simply punishment for her mistake. Justice has a black tie with silver clips attaching it to her red shirt. She wears a black healthy jacket, which she wears, unbuttoned, round her shoulders. She sports activities red fingerless gloves, with metal tags on the wrists, labeled HPJ. She wears black pants with a belt and boots just like the relaxation of the girls. The female was a late again and really pleasant man or woman on this underworld. Although nowadays she wasn't the other, taking her normal a laugh and smooth workout for a hardcore and bone-cracking one. Why? For it turned into her fault why someone she cherished died if only she took the war. Extra significantly, it changed into due to how she did not take her job with laser awareness is why he died, and that they had been all in pain. Punching the sandbag with hate will be the reason why this punch, now not simplest, ripped the chain training device off the ceiling but ripped it in one half. She sighed heavily as her breast quivered from the ache that was torture herself to advantage. She ran to a wall and resumed hitting on it, as tears fell down from her colorless eyes. She failed to care approximately her reckless nature, because it turned into the cause back then she become causing pain now. Justice just continued as this turned into the day she got her lover killed. The 99th floor, 3 women properly all laying in bed with unhappy expressions, every one maintaining something close to their chest even as whimpering softly. These ladies, much like Lucifer and Justice, had white hair, pale skin, purple-colored eyes and tails. Even as not possessing horns like the relaxation of the demons, they alternatively have white dog ears that emerge from underneath their hair on the pinnacle of their heads. Additionally, they all have canine enamel, as evidenced by way of the small fangs present in their mouths of their idol sprite. Their eyes are very big, rounded, and extensive, invoking an enthusiastic expression. They've parted fringes and their hair stretches all of the manner down their lower back, wherein on the give up its miles tied through hair tie right into a short tail. These 3 girls all don extra shape becoming apparel, wearing crimson button-up lengthy sleeve shirts beneath black striped suit vests, and black slim healthy fit pants. They put on black cuffs over their pink shirts just below the shoulder, in addition to black gloves and a black ties tucked below their vests. Their tails seem to emerge from underneath their vests, and over their pants. Those 3 women, or as an alternative to say, females, are Cerberus, mother or father of the gate of hell and the triple demon. All 3 are one being separated into 3 are bodies normally for their very own entertainment, but now they all lay on pinnacle of the mattress that changed into their grasp and lover, cuddling their bodies into his apparel, his sheets, and pillows to maintain his fragrance clean on their minds. They have been in no way as satisfied or lively whilst he left them. What little joy that they had in patrolling and guarding the doorway of hell was barely their point. One made her face buried into the mattress, even as one went right into a fetal function, and the remaining, she simply openly permit the tears go with the flow. They all whimper and whine just hoping that he might open the doors and they tackle him like constantly. Today became the day the ladies misplaced their loved grasp and watched for his return regardless of what, however it hurts, for each day it exceeded. Outdoor, graveyard outdoor, and the most effective graveyard in hell, was a girl's status in front of an unmarried tombstone. Same looks as the alternative 3 demon ladies. However, with specific seams with her hair, it's pretty short and maximum of it covers her left eye. Poking out of her hair are 2 small black horns which are rounded inwards. She has black eyeshadow at the side of piercings on her mouth, ears and nostril. On her fingers you could see sorts of black bracelets, considered one of them achieving to her fingers. Further to her white gold necklace she additionally wears a choker. Her base attire includes a purple tuckered shirt, black skinny denims and black, knee-length heel boots. The lady sighed as she lit a small flame from her thumb to lit a single most cancerous stick that burned from the fireplace. Her name is Zdrada, the betraying demon, or relying who you communicate to often calls her, the whinge demon. Zdrada turned into against the wall, her lips barely keeping on to her lit cigarette. She recalls it undeniable as day in this fucking day. She was continually the trusting one, till after his demise, remembering he barely had time left, and asking Lucy to have him, to mention his final words to them. Each of them having one remaining second to spend before he died. She can bear in mind every phrase perfectly. Hello, smile for me? She can keep in mind his smile in spite of his body slowly fading away. Using her index and middle finger to shy away the cancer stick she muttered, "Yeah, I am smiling, sweetheart." She in no way can say his name, otherwise she can't hold her calm and chilled face. "Please do not cross," a more youthful Zdrada begged, crying as she held onto his hand, remembering all the instances before he died, that type and sweet nature of his. "Wanna come?" continually imparting to make her have a laugh, regardless of how others dislike her nature. Onward, she recalls him putting her on his lower back to run around hell for a laugh, can be rude, do not need to. How he continually appears to be a touch boastful with handiest her. Toget Zdra, na ov. Kind, Anx, her thoughts remembers once more that day, that terrible day. His words had been slightly able to say something, not able to focus, as the disappointment changed into difficult for her to just accept. "Can you assert that once more?" she whispered, as though hoping she should remember the one's words. Always be typed to them. She recalls the boy's type smile, before mouthing out something she couldn't keep in mind. "See, can you say that again?" remaining her eyes as tears ran down, perfectly visualizing the scene in her thoughts. Thanks, you never forgot to mention that to her. Please. Zdrada whimpered as she slowly fell to her aspect as her hands began to transport around. Please. Her arms have been around her frame as she couldn't preserve it in anymore. Come back. For nowadays became the day she cannot seek comfort from her lover anymore. My love, a girl stated softly as her return became in opposition to the wall, together with her head putting down as though life was pulled out from her soul, eyes without any emotion or electricity as she held in her hand an orange-purple headscarf in her palms. This female has her hair in a wavy and unruly style, with numerous excellent cowlicks of hair dispersed in no precise sample. She has a left-swept fringe that prevents at eyebrow's height, in addition to 2 long segments of hair in front of either ear that drop down to chest height, finishing in a zigzag form. Whilst her irises are nonetheless purple, rather than black pupils, she has luminescent white students in the shape of hearts, and under her eyes is an always visible blush, although intensity varies. Adorning her head are simple black horns pointing up, in addition to many hearts that shape of eggs circlet around the aspects and back of her hair. She is currently wearing a black blazer with a pink turtleneck sweater underneath, a black pencil get dress split on each facets, and purple leggings. Modius the lustful demon, or turned into until someone died and took most of her cause of being won away. Lifting her hand, she will be able to nearly see his accomplishing out. A smile began to form on her lips. This is her hand tried to wrap around the hand that she idea become there, killing her movement because it fell beside her. Tears started to fall. I love you, she whispered, hoping he could pay attention. Her, I love you, she repeated over and over again, and just like the years before, time and again, she wallowed in her own despair, screaming in sorrow that she wasn't capable of experience, cherished, or love everybody ever again. Lust became easy to like, changed into torture for her to present to everybody else, however, to him. For nowadays became the day that she will never love once more. Not even your cute fur can ease my broken heart, a demon girl muttered despite an unhappy smile on her face, petting a toddler goat sweetly as she appeared up, her eternal smile slightly capable of live on, that turned into simplest due to her recent action in the meantime. My sweet pet, she muttered. This demon wore a button-up blood-crimson blouse, carrying black pants with 2 suspenders that frame her breast and preserve them up on her cute waist. Her ivory hair become lengthy and flowed out clearly with a set of horns on her head just like the others, even though her brow changed into protected by means of well-maintained bangs alongside 2 nearly goat ear-like hair accessories round her hair as properly. The one thing you observe about her is her closed eyes that gave a warm and trusty nature to this lady. Her call changed into Baphomet, the mysterious demon, to lots of her very own kind, and to humans. A lady only romantically worried with goats, except for one man or woman, as her eyes open up to show red pupils that had a manic look to them. However, her smile became a frown as the girl flung herself on a huge and plush bed with goat plushies round her. I laughed on the truth many mortals love me to which they died for it, she whispered, last her eyes as a fragrance that turned into nonetheless sparkling on her thoughts, the heady scent of love making with the simplest man that touched her frame as a human. Pulling a small piece of fabric, she held it tightly to her bosom as she spoke. I guess it's my personal fault for loving a human lower back. Irony is quite implied. Baphomet weakly said as she decreased her head as the fabric of her love become all that she should bear in mind, both him and his fragrance. For today become the day her human lover died. Clank. Fuck. A female stated, lifting her empty glass that most effective had ice in it, reminded her to replenish it. I need greater. Standing up, she showed the sector what she looked like. The demon wore a pink working shirt with sleeves folded simply underneath her elbows, with a black, buttoned, sleeveless vest over it. She also wears lengthy operating pants underneath a brief, black pencil skirt, and 3 string bracelets on every wrist. Higher no longer have stolen my accurate stash for nowadays. Moving to a refrigerator, she pulled out a relaxing vodka bottle, downing the contents when tearing the cork with know-how that a long-term drinker could recognize. The demon sighed as her return towards the wall slid downwards. She was the demon, but what's true with that without him? No person ought to match her talents in analyzing others or questioning 100 steps beforehand. Shop for him, A small smile spread on her face. But it returned right into a scowl. It wasn't honest. She met a person she honestly favored. She met someone who made her smile on this hellhole. She fell down here along with her sister because she shook her head earlier than looking on the bottle. But permitted cross. She can't drink too much, or less she might overlook him. My love, she whispered softly. Her heart in no way turned into the equal whilst he died. Malina shed a tear at the day she misplaced her favorite person in her complete love. Fool. In a big red-colored area of nothingness, loads of males and females struggling as ghostly obvious chains beaten or ripped them in half. A single lady stood atop of a cliff who could have watched and enjoyed their punishments being surpassed to them for this reason. The lady become none apart from the modern High Prosecutor of Hell, Judgment, who became significantly distinct as compared to the opposite demons, lacking the everyday gloves, crimson button-up blouse, and pants. As an alternative, she wears an in-shaped jacket it's ripped to expose her belly, and a brow that does not connect at the front, exposing her breasts to some extent. She wears a thick belt with a pentagram medallion on a sequence attached to it, with best undies in preference to pants. She also has an armband with the quantity 20 in Roman, XX. My king, she whispered, remembering her identified became given to her at the day after her predecessor surpassed it right down to her, and her cherished teacher, died. She spent every year at the day of his dying, not actually devoted to her process in contrast to another day. She might have relished inside the screams and struggling of the sinners who have been judged with the aid of her hands, but not nowadays. She nonetheless felt that she didn't deserve this honor. Judgment in no way believed she changed into worthy of this power now not but he becomes supposed to be there when it took place. The warrior prosecutor looked at the lands of struggling human beings, and couldn't no longer even crack a smile on the sight. Today turned into the day her like savior and king of hell vanished from her existence. Sniff, a young however surely worn-out demon girl wiped her eyes when her feelings have been getting the satisfactory of her again. She grew to become off the computer and noticed her reflection at the display. Her hair is wavy and fashioned in 3 large curls resting on her brow, with the center curl being larger than the 2 on either aspect. It reaches down each aspects of her head, tucked at the back of her ears, with both ends curling inwards at the lowest of her head close to her chin. Additionally, she has a ponytail at the return of her head with greater massive, exclusive curls. Poking out of her hair are 2 small black horns which can be rounded at the hints. She has white eyebrows and has seen dark circles below her rounded eyes, giving her a tired appearance. Over her eyes are a pair of round-framed glasses. The newest member of Queen Lucifer's internal circle, Pandemonica, the worn-out, sadistic demon who is spending any other countless day doing her usual customers/clients in hell soliciting for assist. That is her getting yelled at or them begging her to assist. But oddly she does give recommendation and does true at her process. But remember the fact that she is in hell with human beings that are constantly getting sent into there via literal seconds. For each one, character she enables, approximately 100,001 greater entering hell. At the least she gets paid overtime. Espresso doesn't grow the younger woman's side as she looked at a small egg timer at her desk, taking a moment to put in writing down the time she was going to take a break. 1 hour. Humph, he would have made me take an extended one. Pandemonica mused as she went to a nearby corner of the room that had a small pot and cup. She changed into approximately to grab an open jar of coffee grinds till she stopped her hand. No, she wanted the large gun, moving her hand to the wall, pulling off a small tile to expose a bag where she dumped out the closing bits of espresso grounds that glowed in an angelic light. My final combo from him, she muttered out, using the closing centuries of Bess brewing an unmarried cup every time when it became tough for her to transport on. However, it changed into the ultimate one, carefully getting out a gooseneck pot and the more complex gadgets to make this one really worth it. The young woman took a second to contemplate her life. She discerned considering that is the last cup she need to pull out his record and positioned it to bed. Finished. Slowly pouring the water turned into now a masterfully cup of hell brew espresso. Taking a small sip, her spirit came lower back but slightly hosed down when she had to do the assignment. Putting off a report that stated N, finish IT Pandemonica, she opened it to examine the first and basic stats. Naruto, closing name unknown, born in XXXX, raised in XXXX become dispatched to hell by way of his own request when no longer taking heaven's offer to go to their facet. She muttered using a pen, a rare time because she loves the usage of computers, to try this work, and, after being blasted with the aid of the traitor's magic, his body developed into light and diminished in the front of Queen Lucifer, and she relooked at the paper for a moment before dashing to her laptop, searching up files on positive souls that had been launched back to heaven or destroyed. Turned to stone shattered, flipped to ice shattered, burned to ashes and scatter, none of them faded. She murmured. She grabbed the rest of the coffee. In an extraordinary moment of regret she downed at one shot as her eyes went huge and complete of mischievous glee, properly timed to investigate. Hours surpassed by when Pandemonica most effective smiled as she did it. It become authentic. She looked where a telephone was ringing because it clicked. Pandemonica, what the H? I am looking to make a valid hellhole and you're screwing me. Get back to Lucy. Naruto is alive. There was a pregnant pause as either of them spoke, till Lucy spoke over again. I am getting the relaxation, you better not be lying. Come here whilst you're prepared. She orders the now slightly active demon take hold of her notes in order to properly give an explanation for to the relaxation of the ladies what she discovered. Lucy watched because the somber temper around the room became significantly pondered on the unusual mood of the others as properly because it changed into now not a great day to talk about their commercial enterprise. They watched as Pandemonica entered the room in their queen, all of us, I have vital news. Lucy raised an eyebrow at the woman's words on him, correct? She stated as others seemed either intrigued or slightly mad. Proceed, Pandemonica. With that order the rest watched because the glasses wearer took a moment to take a breath. As you understand, this is the day we lost our lover, Naruto, she began because the rest all seemed down and ache from the reminiscence. That when the traitor Beelzebub rebelled towards our queen, Justice and Naruto stopped her however. We know, Malina growled out her annoyance to the workplace worker. He died protecting Justice. Thanks for the terrible reminiscence. Baphomet located a hand on her shoulder. Come now, no want to be riled up. Her vulnerable smile turns into a small frown when turning to her co-employee. Pandemonica, please explain why telling us such lousy memories. The female nodded. It's due to the fact he might be alive. I took notice of his demise, it wasn't like the others, and even checked the stays of the others who did, their ashes are part of this hell. But he isn't always, there's not even a hint of it. He's alive because the assault he took didn't kill him, it blasted him back to the sector of the living. Pandemonica looked at the others' expressions, Lucy being the only one that stored her face the identical, but she observed her left hand was made right into a fist, no question preserving in a few complex feelings on the problem, even a twitch on her lips to suppress the smile that would come from this opportunity to appear. However, she changed into their queen, and if she misplaced it, it would have been lots of troubles. The rest seemed to be something tame compared to how she notioned they might react. Justice simply eliminated her glasses to show her blind eyes to reveal her shock expression, with some wish in her eyes. Proper, she need to nonetheless blame herself for her mistake towards the traitor, or the mind of the tired demon. Alive! The Cerberus girls shouted as all of them got near and held every other's palms with happy smiles on their faces. Virtually / honestly / alive? The three all stated with their tones all matching in pleasure from the information. Pandemonica sighed in moderate alleviation that she failed to recognize that their response might be so. I am leaving, Zdrada said as Lucy snapped her fingers as massive stone golems averted her from escaping. Turning round, the others noticed her glare at the worn-out demon. Come on, severely? We all saw him die, centuries beyond, and he wasn't sent back right here. It's now not authentic. The traitor / whinge demon reminded all of them. This better not be a fucking joke, Monica, Malina said obtrusive at the bookworm whilst taking a swig from her massive whiskey bottle. Pandemonica body went cold when she flipped to see what the motive become. The room also ran cold as they saw Baphomet establishing her eyes, and her uncommon frown have become dark. I'm hoping you're now not jesting, Pandemonica, or at least I turn you into one among mine pet goats. She warned, stepping up to expose her dominance. This is till judgment additionally took a breakthrough to get between the two. Looking at Lucy, the frowning demon abruptly smiled as she waved her hands in a childish way. Of course that is in case you play a merciless comic story, she stated with a snort, even though her eyes confirmed a dark gold to back it up. I won't lie. I don't have the whole proof of this situation, however I agree with it can take place. The worn-out demon virtually said as the others checked out every other from her phrases. But with Lucy's ability to test at the dwelling world, we are able to see if he is there. The chief looked at the bespectacled lady. How positive are you? She requested as Pandemonica checked out her notes. I can't truly get in specific percentage, however, 78%. The tired demon declared as Lucy looked at the others. The Queen of Hell checked out the others. A few had hopeful seems at her at the same time as the others had been involved. Inform me, do you all nonetheless love him? Lucy asked as they all appeared down from the pain of their lover no longer being here. Do you all desire it? Is there besides we may be with him again? All nodded weakly as she smiled. Do you all love him even supposing he wasn't the same when we met? Due to the fact, she admitted as the rest took a moment to speak. Yeah, I would like him once more. Justice smiled cheerfully as she placed a hand on her hip. I would like him all over again, Modius shouted with willpower in her eyes. Malina sighed earlier than looking at Strata, who gave a weak smirk. We are in, even though he isn't the identical, we care for him. Hey, yeah, what Malika says. Please, leave out, Lucy. The Cerberus sisters pleaded with domestic dog eyes at the Queen. We need to peer our master all over again. Judgment seemed meek as she scratched her cheek with her claw/finger. I might do something to pay off my debt to the man who gave me the whole thing, she confessed softly as Justice patted her shoulder. Baphomet smiled, clearly smiling as she looked at Pandemonica with kind eyes. Yes, I accept as true with we need to take that chance and, thanks, leave out Pandemonica. I make an apology for my hazard. The bespectacled female waved it off as she looked at her queen. With yours being also on the affirmative, Queen Lucifer, I shall deliver mine. I love him, desperately so. May also we try to locate him? She asked because the Queen checked out her subjects, an internal circle. We can also, clapping her hands as they all regarded above their heads to see the ceiling turning into a mirror. All people have any of Naruto's? The fallen angel asked as the rest all checked out her with deadpan expressions. Hi there, I am retaining my stuff. We're given this May of coffee grinds he made for me, being I'm the only who recommended this. I can bear its loss. Pandemonica walked to Lucy, who gratefully took the object from her. Tapping the cylinder, it melted because the liquid flew up because the replicate shimmered and wave as the reflection had become something else. I see, leaves. Lucy muttered as the sight turned into indeed an oversight of a massive region of trees. Allows fine Naruto a chunk more exactly. The Queen lifted her hand before making a gripping movement as she became it barely, in which the replicates started out to zoom beyond the trees as all of them saw miles passing by way of before Lucy stopped when she noticed a giant wall. The hell? Pandemonica, what are we seeing? The sleepy searching girl sighed as she regarded over a document she had. This is the contemporary world. It has been exactly 2,000 years due to the fact that we last interacted inside the Pinnacle International. What we are seeing is the Konohagakure village hidden in the leaves. This is the language Naruto used, right? Justice said, remembering some of the phrases of her lover speak me while he turned into with them. The commonly tired girl nodded, certainly. It turned into founded through ninja clans that battled till they made a village, and it grew to become one of the important ones presently. It recently suffered an attack with the aid of a demon fox. How recent? Judgment requested as the girl passed her the file. 5 years? It's no longer latest, that is remaining weak to us. As fascinating as that is, we are searching out our lover. Are searching for the man named Naruto, the only who changed into once in hell, Lucy demanded as the sight they saw changed into a younger blonde boy sitting in a meal stall slurping down noodles. It is him, Lucy stated with her heart skipping a beat, the identical fox-like whiskers on his face and solar-kissed hair. He still wears that orange coloration. She mused, creating a small fist contact her chin. Even after such a lot of centuries he nevertheless had such similarities. She was satisfied. The face she had changed into the very expression of love struck something she hadn't felt in years. The others additionally had smooth expressions on their faces. However, the tired demon spoke. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, it's him. The file on him has his soul that became the precise same as ours, she stated, displaying the others, or as an alternative them huddling round her to look, was born 5 years ago, throughout, what on this planet? Lucy snaps out of her daydreaming as she turns to her subjects. What? His parents sealed the demon fox, which is that this energy it really is known as chakra that those people have. It is no longer the factor, the village treats him like a monster. Pandemonica stated however shouted while Lucy's eyes have become dark and narrowed on the fact she heard. Black flames round her frame danced, in a frenzy way as she glared on the worn-out lady. What was that? The queen demanded as Pandemonica walked to her to proportion the report. Evidently, nobody knows the fact that his father, Minato Namikaze, turned into the leader of the village on the time. Is truly Naruto father? It appears that evidently the village believes Naruto is an orphan, some outright believes he is a demon. Pandemonica explained, fixing her glasses as a few rage started to accumulate in right here. The ones quickly to be rattling fools do not apprehend what actual demons are. Lucy's flames did no longer vanish. If whatever they have become extra sinister in color, show me what she approach. They watched as the sight of the younger boy ingesting become another of him jogging from people, guys shouting in joy as they held bottles and knives no doubt to damage the kid. Now all of the girls had dark looks at the sight. Cerberus, all checked out the men carefully, so when they get there they could rip them apart by their enamel as painfully and slowly as feasible. Baphomet became already making plans on making them into goats, so she will be able to whip into form. Crack. The others seemed to peer Malina obvious at the screen with the bottle she was drinking now shattered into pieces. We are going to raise that village to the ground. The others started to shout in agreement till they noticed the flames around Lucy use up from her. No, we are already in heaven's crosshairs for the last time we messed around. Pinnacle sighed. Cerberus. She gave a deadpan look as the trio of demons sincerely whistled at the reminder. But I've in concept. She lifted her hand as the mirror have become a swirling white coloration of energy. We are going to make his life higher, the queen of all demons declared because the lady noticed the others looked confused. A tender chuckle escaping her lips as Lucy crossed her hands underneath her breasts. Our Naruto we cherished had a horrible life before he met us. Now we can restoration that and also be with him whilst he is of age. The horny demon commenced elevating her hand to offer herself to the amusing. I do not thoughts and oh. All of the other women shouted comically to make Modius pouted on not jumping on a younger Naruto's bones. So, we are going to just stay in that region? Justice asked, no longer truly certain on how the idea works. Pandemonica merely adjusted her glasses as she spoke. I trust we ought to inspect the way the sector works, unless we make every other entire holy conflict on Earth for like the 1/3 time in a row. Lucy cupped her chin in thought, at the same time as the concept of just making them part of Naruto's lifestyles changed into grand. But again the reality if they do not play it secure heaven will convey a whole lot of trouble. Just having him in hell precipitated them to stroll to their gates to call for him again. The queen checked out the site of her kingdom. Alright, Alaus, watch over the village a bit, and recognize what this location is like. Then we can make my plan paintings, get equipped although it will be a long term earlier than we get some. A laugh. The others all appeared glad, something that hasn't been feasible to at the moment. Snapping her fingers the portal began to suck them into the mild. Konoha. Nighttime. A younger 5-12 months old boy with spiky blonde hair smiled as he got his stomach full of ramen. It'd become an amazing day. No matter being in that crappy orphanage for every other year he changed into capable of use his cash that he got from the vintage man to devour. He seemed to the top of the wall of his village, bizarre. He said as the younger man proceeded to return to the house that he disliked. He got a great field to observe us, Judgment said with a feral smile as she and the alternative demons were standing on pinnacle of the wall as they watched Naruto throughout the time they arrived. Woman Lucy? Every week, we're going to analyze sufficient to combo in as lovable orphans as a way to be his precious youth pals. Lucifer smiled darkly earlier than noticing some guys who were under the influence of alcohol. Oh, Cerberus? The canine woman's eyes glowed within the darkish night time as they observed what Lucy saw. We were given it. As they dashed closer to the goals, Lucy truly lifted her hands. Now, permit start the research women. To be with our cherished Naruto yet again, she said, materializing a small wine glass in her hand, spilling over the threshold. And those who might stand in our way would burn in hell in advance than they predicted. The screams of men being mauled to death become something that would cause the sector to realize that hell has come to the elemental international locations. Lucy smiled, flipping the web page of the Hell newspaper in her hand, as she took a small smash in a cafe that she notioned became as an alternative fine. Looking at her cup of inexperienced tea, Lucy sighed as she put some sugar cubes into the tea, watching as they slowly broke down before she stirred the tea with a spoon. This tea is so bitter, she whined, finding it hard to be taken severely because the chief of hell, while she had a sweet enamel to address, it absolutely undermined the demonic and leadership vibes she's usually having to keep up. Lucy, the chief of hell turned to look at her fellow demons that have been strolling as much as her, effortlessly ignoring the people that had been within the manor. Pulling out an old-school pocket watch, Lucy looked at the time as she nodded. It's that time, isn't it? She mused, searching at how quickly time had passed, earlier than placing the watch away as she waved them over to the table as a small inexperienced circle regarded above the desk. What's up? The queen checked out the waitress who'd come over and smiled sweetly at her. My friends have simply arrived. Do you mind getting something for them? Simply add it to my take a look at. No, I'll pay, Baphomet chimed in, not looking her queen to pay for all of them earlier than eliminating a gold coin and flipping it to the female who stuck it with a look of astonishment. We're going to be taking all of your presently to be had goodies ahem. Oh, and all of your coffee beans in conjunction with a cup of coffee, Baphomet asked, with Pandemonica having chimed in to remind Baphomet of her espresso, and hold the trade, sweetie, she stated as the waitress fast nodded earlier than speeding to the cafe so that she ought to get their orders geared up. The group collected around Lucy as they sat across the table as Justice smirked at what she saw. First-rate phantasm barrier. Makes them assume we are ordinary human beings, she chuckled as Lucy smirked in the back of her cup of tea. Rude, something like that is highly easy and clean for me to do, she stated earlier than turning to Cerberus. So, how is our little lover? The ladies all saluted in perfect unison as they spoke in tandem. Grasped Naruto is secure and sound, presently consuming at the Ichiraku ramen/soup/tasty location. Lucy smiled at this earlier than saying, well, we've been right here for a complete 2 weeks, and I consider it's been lengthy enough for us to ultimately improve our plans. Do not you compromise? Lucy requested as the others all nodded. Okay, now, I will let you all understand what I've located about the villages and any current essential events first, after which judgment, Pandemonica, and justice will cross subsequent, before we finish with everybody else, agreed? Seeing all of the ladies nod their heads, Lucy spoke. Superb. Now, I am no longer sure what year it's far, however recently, something referred to as the 1/3 remarkable shinobi struggle, has concluded. Judging by means of the identify, and various different bits of records I've discovered, it seems this period revolves round something much like historic Japan, with their main forces which include assassins, ninja, or shinobi, to be unique. Hearing this, all of the ladies frowned, as this information reminded them of the reality that their lover had suffered from that profession earlier than he'd eventually died. Seeing their expressions, Lucy allowed them to settle for a 2D before she persevered, gathering their attention again. Now, in contrast to inside the past, that is now a suitable career, and shinobi clans frequently inspire their kids to head down this course unless that extended family has another option available. Additionally, it appears that this era does not have main cities, however alternatively has villages and cities with sure regions having kingdoms. And, at the same time as most villages are minor, there are 5 extremely good villages which stand in particular others in phrases of strength, even though all villages are titled as hidden based on their surroundings, with best the most minor of villages and cities no longer having a title. She are quoted as all of them chuckled on the plain wall round them that didn't make the village discreet. Taking a sip of her tea, Lucy cleared her throat as she persevered. Currently, the village we are in now is known as the village hidden within the leaves. Supposedly, this village is the primary one to have been based earlier than the others, and has masses of money and several shinobi clans that each one have their very own unique and particular skills. Next, It appears the Leaf have a treaty among themselves and the village hidden inside the sand, a village in the desert. These days, however, it seems the Leaf has been taking enterprise from them due to customers sending requests here rather than to the sand. That sounds like a time bomb just ready to move off. I give it some years before they get uninterested and do something positive about this situation, Justice snorted, causing the others to snigger as they knew that humans were petty and some distance too easy are expecting when a human or organization had too much power, and every other changed into backed into a nook. Ignoring her pal's interruption, the subsequent foremost one is the village hidden inside the mist, even as they are normally no longer the weakest of the main 5 villages. They've recently started a civil warfare. No one is aware of why, but they've these days begun a type of purging of all the ones who have bloodlines. Based totally on what I've learned about the abilities within the Mist Village, plainly both the chief grew afraid of their ninja's capability, or grew jealous of those clans' abilities that gave them more strength than everyday ninjas, she defined, imparting her maximum logical reviews and viewpoints on what could have precipitated the purge to start, with the others nodding that they made feel, however would not put too much weight in them till they, and Lucy, all found out the genuine cause for the purge. Subsequent is the village hidden in the clouds. Now, they regularly have issues with the Leaf, more particularly, looking to scouse borrow extended family contributors of powerful bloodlines to be able to have their own, supposedly. One among which became even Naruto's mother, she stated, sudden the others if it weren't for the fact she, and her attempted kidnappers, were already useless. I'd advise that we cross and annihilate people who were worried. There's still the complete village. Cannot we simply destroy them? Judgment asked, as she felt that right punishment becomes still needed for people who wronged her like Smom. High Prosecutor, Lucifer commenced with an irritated appearance earlier than she cleared her throat and said, perhaps later. Lastly is the village of stone. Hey. Strada. Prevent that snickering, she chastised while the immature member could not help however let out a few laughing from her thoughts taking into account a low-forehead comic story. Anyway, they have got a alternatively horrific history with Naruto's father as he took down a majority of them at some stage in the war, leading to them preserving something of a grudge towards the Leaf, with them having close to utter hatred for Naruto's father, which would no doubt fall to Naruto as well. Although, something is off with the current conflict, as they no actual cause to attack the Leaf. So why the surprising assault? Lucy became the queen of rebellion and conflict whilst she fell, of root, it changed into all due to reasons that have been her very own. So, whilst she could understand causing wanton destruction, she could not understand what drove Stone to begin the battle. Something about everything simply appeared off to her. However, just as she became about to start questioning greater at the oddity of the conflict, the waitress introduced their order and beverages. The quantity that they had ordered might commonly be enough for 20 people. However, thinking about they weren't human, this a whole lot became regular. Now, the ones are the major villages, also known as the Massive 5, due to them preserving the most strength, wealth, and assets amongst all of the villages. Of root, there are minor villages, which include Grass, Sound, Megastar, Nade something it's known as Snow, and Waterfall. But despite being minor, they make up for it with the aid of having unique powers, competencies, or maybe system. Unluckily, whilst I was only able to learn a number of their records right here, I used to be not able to analyze enough to name myself an expert. However, I did learn that the people of this era use something referred to as chakra. Reputedly, they use a few sort of spiritual and bodily electricity inside their bodies to naturally shape chakra to solid spells, or as they name them, jutsu. So, they need to apply separate energies with a purpose to do whatever? Malina mumbled, consuming from her flask earlier than pouring maximum of it into her espresso. This is kinda lame. That means that they had die if they used more than what they have. Lucy nodded, indeed, although, this partly leads to the subsequent topic, the assault of a demon fox called the Nine-Tails Demon Fox. In step with information, this creature is sincerely a large mass of sentient chakra, and since chakra is a shape of electricity, it couldn't be destroyed, so it became as a substitute sealed into our lover. Which means in phrases of to be had power, our lover could have extra than every body alive, mainly on account that his personal will continue to grow with him as he receives older and trains. Listening to this, the girls felt proud that, on this new life, their lover had the electricity to completely remove the village if he desired to, and even greater within the destiny. With that, Lucy took some other sip of her tea and stated, "That is all I ought to report at the history and power struggles of the villages at the moment. If I study more, I'll make sure to proportion all of it with you. For now," she then looked over to Pandemonica, "what have you learned approximately this era's economy?" At this, anybody grew to become to Pandemonica, who was taking a sip from her coffee even as she double-checked her notes. Earlier than she cleared her throat and said, "So, from what I've collected, it seems that the village, like most rural villages, advantage their money from their local chief, which in this situation is someone referred to as the hearth daimyo." As she cited the daimyo, Pandemonium pulled out a chart she'd made, showing the daimyo at the top. Daimyos preserve the most strength in every vicinity, with most effective the kage of every vicinity being second in phrases of power. Now, maximum of the time, they'd instead depart the ninjas alone to do their own thing and observe the kage, the chief of the ninja forces. But some grow greedy and can be as a substitute silly. One instance is the wind daimyo inside the land of wind, who's been the usage of Konoha to keep money, thus reducing any investment the sand obtain. Additionally, with the economy being in one of these horrible nation, many traders and people in the marketplace enterprise have used this time to their advantage so as to get their shops up and running with much less price to themselves. Subsequently, the money they use is called Rio, and even as it does have a different name, it's no distinctive to how money was utilized in Japan. The caffeine-addicted demon explained to anyone, with Lucy having grown a mischievous smile while she heard about traders using the economy to their benefit. "Tell me extra about how the merchants used the economy to their benefit a little later," she stated, with Pandemonica nodding her head as she wrote something down in the papers on her clipboard. Meanwhile, Lucy then became her attractions to judgment, government. The dark-skinned female, listening to this, nodded her head earlier than borrowing Pandemonica's chart. So, simply as Pandemonica stated, every location does certainly have a daimyo along with a kage. Now, each kage is the chief within each of the principal 5 villages, with their title converting based totally on which village they live in. The one for the leaf is known as the Hokage or Fire Shadow. Now, while it is actual that every region and sub-village report to the daimyo, the principal 5 villages are slightly one of a kind in that each one is based totally on a dictatorship, with the Hokage having the very last word. Judgment then proceeded to add the phrases, advisors, and council, to the chart under the title, Kage, before continuing, "So, even as each of the main 5 are indeed dictatorships, each of the Kage is authorized to assign advisors and even a council with the intention to help them in going for walks the village, whether it's from organizing markets, to keeping tune of materials and shipments, with the Kage retaining the final word. That is especially due to each of the massive 5 villages being ninja villages, with them permitting civilians to sign up for and participate of their economy." She then frowned as she thought about what she determined out with the leaf's contemporary kage, something all of the women noticed before judgment endured. However, based on the entirety I've found out approximately the leaf, it appears that evidently the contemporary Hokage has misplaced his spine and electricity. Whilst it is regular for the extended family heads to be allowed to voice their very own critiques and weigh in on foremost selections, the modern Hokage permits the civilian traders to absolutely walk throughout him, voicing their own critiques, and usually overturning choices that must be made via the Hokage. In my view, I do not think the cutting-edge Hokage is matched to Guide anymore, especially considering the fact that he became alleged to have retired, however turned into pressured to take lower back the mantle of Kage after his successor, our lover's father, passed away while he sealed away the demon fox. But it appears as even though the village continues to be in accurate circumstance, at the least in phrases of universal productiveness, so I'm able to wait earlier than passing judgment. For now, I will bypass it over to justice. With that, her cheerful predecessor grinned as she commenced her document. From what I have visible, their navy could be very just like what we realize, no matter being ninjas, as they have a rank machine that goes genin, then chunin, jonin, after which the Hokage, with certain exceptions in between. The genin are generally the novices and foot infantrymen, with them being clean recruits who are then assigned into squads of 4 with it, including 3 genin and 1 jonin. The chunin are subsequent, and that they generally aren't that incredible. Simply think of them as genin who have gained a few enjoy and stepped forward their competencies a bit. Now, the actual electricity comes from them, Justice then pointed up, getting all of them to look at a silver-haired guy jumping over them, the jonin. Basically the veterans who've established they have the abilities, enjoy, and jutsu arsenal, are the primary force behind every village's military strength, apart from the kage. Now not simplest that, but evidently every year, when a category of prospective genin graduates from the academy, a group of jonin are selected to become ability instructors and leaders for each squad fashioned. Justice then crossed her arms as she leaned lower back. Now, I say prospective, because whilst they're assigned to a jonin trainer, each squad then has to take a second mystery take a look at that can be determined by the jonin. In the event that they pass the jonin's check, they achieve turning into genin. If not, they're then dispatched back to the academy, or are advised to completely drop being ninja altogether. Now, it's absolutely not too bad of a check, due to the fact locations just like the mist clearly make it a demand where potential genin must kill their whole class if you want to graduate. With Justice finishing her report, Lucy hummed to herself as she returned and took in all of this information. This area is so backwards that the years earlier than our Naruto arrived seem more like that of superior technology, and we used to use fire and brimstone for Christ's sake. Taking a breath, Lucy sighed in annoyance earlier than searching at Baphomet and saying, transferring on, Baphomet, have you ever and the others been able to acquire sufficient budget? At being positioned in the highlight, Baphomet beamed in pleasure. We do certainly, my queen, she stated earlier than squealing when she saw the adorable pastries that arrived at their desk. Oh, what lovely food, the goat lover said as she held up a stick of dango. Ah, such vibrant colorings. Baphomet, please live targeted. Lucy sighed as she took a chocolate chip muffin for herself. At this, Baphomet snapped out of her appreciation for the cute goodies as she nodded, my terrible. Clearing her throat, Baphomet spoke with a mild manic appearance in her eyes. The usage of the lazy and wealthy humans. We asked them if they might provide us a number of the vintage companies they don't actually need anymore. So now, they have got signed over the deeds to various homes and corporations for us to use so one can fix up, alternate, and place to work obtaining price range. Fortunately, we additionally controlled to get a Kickstarter from the ones very same human beings. Pandemonica nodded in agreement as she started drinking her 6th cup of espresso. Certainly, and with a few assists from Malina, Modius, and Zdrada, we have been capable of completely flip those antique, run-down stores and homes into proper shops to start making earnings. So, should anything manifest to those customers afterward, we've a consistent drift of money through these shops now being our own, she declared, smiling at the wonder of her espresso, no longer terrible. Despite the fact that it is not anything in comparison to his very own brew, Pandemonica stated, her eyes softening as she eyed a lower back to their lover. Properly, earlier than we hold this subject matter, allows at the least finish our meal, Lucy stated as the others agreed on trying to complete the meals. Technically, they didn't want to eat or drink, however none of them desired to stay like that. Specifically while there have been such a lot of delicious candies for them all to devour and experience with their lover. The sector because it become now changed into unusual, as the food, their way of life, and mannerisms had been so very specific in comparison to their times. When they'd eaten their food, leaving only some snacks for later, they continued their assembly as Lucy said, now that we've had our fill, Cerberus, is there something regarding Naruto that we need to cope with? The women nodded rapidly, keen to speak about their cherished master. As you already know, the left sister began, Grasp has been dealt with poorly because he's the field of that wild chakra. The middle sister persisted, this has made most of the people think it's a demon, and, by means of extension, Master too. The right sister finished. The 3 sisters growled at that thought, at the same time as the others additionally frowned. Earlier than the center one spoke, no longer handiest that, the left then continued. A few additionally throw our lord out from their shops. The right then picked up from right here. Even though we cannot damage them in any other case, it would look suspicious on Master if the person who kicked him out changed into abruptly killed / murdered / die. The 3 completed together. Justice glared on the ceiling as she returned in her chair. They prefer to call us demons evil. But then they prove that it is truly people who are the actual evil ones. In any case, it is less difficult to name yourself a hero and torture a toddler than to assist and take delivery of that they're an innocent infant. Reputedly, a lot of their loved ones have been killed at some point of the attack, so it might make feel that they might naturally harbor hate for the fox inside our young love. The typically lustful demon murmured softly. Marlena did not appear to take care of her response as she spoke, in order that offers them the proper to deal with him like this. I did not say that, Modius said as she softly shook her head. I just mean that we all realize a small part of that pain. We all hated Beale for hundreds of years until we sooner or later calmed down. Love while ripped far from a person is a powerful purpose to hate, and to hold on to that detest, even though it's directed at the incorrect man or woman, she reminded them, getting them to appearance down in shame, as the idea they were better than humans however forgot that they have comparable reactions. That being stated, we simply need to expose and supply him our love, and the first-rate way to try this judgment, Lucy stated as Judgment's eyes glowed as sparkling chains regarded around Modius, wrapping her up, getting Modius to squeak on the tightness as she silenced her proposal. We're now not having intercourse with a minor. Our Naruto would not approve people doing something so sinful, even supposing it is with his younger self. Besides, Cerberus, please continue. The group laughed at the irony of what their chief said. As Cerberus' ultimate sister started out, we killed the shop proprietors, the center one picked up the drunks, the sister on the proper persevered, and any normal folks who overtly stated they hated Naruto/Master/Honey, they finished together. The middle one then said, at the same time as the chief has been investigating our kills, the left one endured. He might not locate any proof way to Lucy/Queen/Lulu. Lucy smiled before noticing the sisters squirming of their seats. Noticing their chief's gaze, the proper sister began. We also heard, the center one persisted, that Grasp goes to get kicked out of that orphanage soon, the left one picked up. Because of some of the youngsters copying the caretaker's hate closer to him, then all three spoke at the same time. They will no longer bully him, and we might kill them for treating Naruto/Master/Honey like an outcast, but kids are off limits. Judgment warned the three who glared at her. We know, the three said on the same time before the left sister continued. However, we are talking approximately the caretakers. The middle sister persevered. In the event that they die, the other kids could have a difficult time surviving on their personal. The right sister then stated, although they by some means live on and analyze to take care of themselves, the left sister spoke up. Naruto might eventually determine out that we were the cause behind their suffering. Then all three completed. And he'd be mad/furious/unhappy. At this, Judgment rapidly stood. So we have to let our king retain to suffer at their arms? You is probably his dependable canines, however I was taken in by means of him, and I may not let him go through any more, she exclaimed at the same time as brandishing her claws out as they gleamed menacingly on the three girls whose teeth began to sharpen to points as they growled, and twisted up at Judgment. Judgment/Cerberus, Justice and Pandemonica exclaimed as they tried to quell their buddies' opposed natures. However, they unexpectedly felt a massive presence, and became to see Lucy had a glance of disappointment as she completed her tea and stood. Sufficient, you all live right here. I'll be going for a stroll to clean my head. She sighed, unable to hold her stoic look. On foot away from the others, she may want to understand that taking Naruto away changed into a hasty flow. However, what preference did they have got that might help him? It is no longer like magic may want to erase all the hatred the village felt in an instant. Making people suppose something is not there is simple. Seeking to forcibly erase an entire emotion ought to reason any number of problems. No longer to say, lead the angels directly to them. If it were not for the reality that this level of magic is normal because of their type being recognized to debris with humanity, Lucy would have cared lots more approximately how an awful lot magic she became the usage of and what number of spells she's solid. Angels wouldn't inspect phantasm spells or small reminiscence wipes, due to the fact that each helped protect the supernatural from being located. But an entire village that radiated magic and held no form of hatred would be the equivalent of them putting up a massive sign that stated, "Here we're. Come fuck us up and send us return to hell." With that idea, Lucy delivered herself out of her thoughts as she appeared round and realized she had no clue as to where she changed into. She ought to see a small river close by, but she still had no clue in which she was or whether she was nonetheless within the village as she mumbled, rattling it. now wherein am I? See ya, Naruto. Hearing this, Lucy's head snapped in the direction wherein she noticed a trio of youngsters taking walks far from a nearby playground. One had a wild look and pink markings on his cheeks, his savage grin reminding her of her personal dog ally. Some other regarded to be a lazy or tired kid who had his hair tied up in a way that made her think of a fruit of some type. Sooner or later, the remaining one changed into barely fat Eep. She speedy hid in the back of a tree whilst the boy checked out her. What the hell become that? It turned into like he sensed whilst she concept about his weight. Scary looking. Lower back, she saw that he'd given up on looking for her, which made her sigh in remedy as she watched them stroll away. Her gaze had become sad whilst she noticed the younger Naruto searching down, now noticing that he turned into all by myself. My love, she softly moaned as out, taking care to not be heard, even as she watched him sit down on the swing set. No greater, Lucy said with self-belief, earlier than on foot closer to Naruto whilst also looking to calm her swiftly beating heart. One of those actions became not going well. Naruto sighed as his friends left, sad that he changed into going to be by myself yet again, but became at the least satisfied they might play with him normal when they completed their day on the academy. Though that in no way took far from the fact that most people still deal with him horribly, and that most parents tell their children no longer to play with him. I wasn't usually on my own, he said as he curled his palms around the chains of the swing, sad and angry at how unfair it turned into that he became dealt with poorly for some reason, and he didn't have mother and father. Excuse me? Hearing a woman's voice, Naruto turned his head to look a woman's status close by, barely bending over him as she appeared worried at him. Are you okay? She asked him. Hearing the query, Naruto turned into amaze that this female become worried approximately him, and didn't take a look at him with disdain and disgust. Knowing this, Naruto felt as his eyes started watering at the same time as tears fell. Are you adequate? She asked again with more fear in her tone than earlier. Then she moved her hand to his cheek. You are crying. Huh? Naruto sniffed as he felt his cheeks and realized she become proper as he started out wiping his eyes and said, Yeah, I am fine. I am just in reality happy because you are the first person to fear approximately me. Truly? Does nobody else worry about you? Lucy asked, in reality surprised at the dearth of care Naruto's received over time. Naruto shook his head as he said, No, most of the people simply tell their youngsters to stay far away from me and take a look at me like I did something horrible. Nicely, Lucy started out, it truly is now not very exceptional, now could be it. Naruto laughed as he shook his head, it isn't. So, what's your call? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Lucy, my call is Lucy and it is exceptional to satisfy you, Naruto, Lucy replied. It is high quality to fulfill you too, Naruto returned with a smile that brought about Lucy's coronary heart to skip a beat. So, could you want to play with me or do you have to cross too? Sure, she spoke back with a smile. Come on, we were given any other few hours as a minimum. With that, Naruto and Lucifer laughed in excitement as they went to the playground and commenced playing. From the usage of the swings, to playing tag, to even using a ball that one of the kids from earlier inside the day had forgotten. However, during the whole lot, Naruto by no means observed that Lucy had a glance of depression the entire time they had been gambling collectively. Finally, it started to get overdue with the solar starting to set, and the two had settled to spend the remaining little bit of the day at the swings with Lucy pushing Naruto when she asked, Good day, why hasn't anybody come to pick out you up? At this, Naruto looked at her in brief with the unhappy appearance earlier than he regarded back out closer to the solar as he stated, I am an orphan, so I do not have everybody to come pick me up. I also do not have a home, as I stay inside the orphanage, but I do not find it irresistible there. The matron would not treat me properly and doesn't let me play with the other kids or let me come out when adults are trying to adopt. However, Naruto then checked out her with a smile and the putting solar at the back of him improving his golden-colored hair as he said, in spite of the entirety, I understand that the entirety will turn out proper for me. I will experience it. Hearing this, Lucy felt her coronary heart smash at Naruto's disappointment and ache, hating the truth that this village treats him so horribly and that Naruto, regardless of how plenty the village breaks him, always selections up the pieces of himself, refusing to allow them to change him. Could you ever need to go away? Lucy requested as Naruto regarded her inside the eyes as she slowly stopped the swing. They looked at every other for a bit, not saying something as Lucy let her queries sink even as Naruto concept about what she requested with the wind gently blowing via the place as the solar ultimately set. In case you desired, I'm able to take you far away from right here. My buddies and I'd contend with you and you'd by no means ought to sense unhappy, or alone, and you may be glad all you wanted, Lucy said, hoping Naruto might take delivery of her offer in order that she ought to take him far from this awful village. To her shock and surprise, he shook his head as he said, no. Naruto then looked at her and gave her a gentle smile as he said, thank you, but I cannot. I made a promise to myself that I might get humans right here to look me for who I am with the aid of turning into the Hokage of this village and defensive all and sundry. Listening to this, Lucy's eyes widened as she looked at Naruto, amazed at his determination to thrive and prosper in a place that might do not anything but save him from doing so while scorning him the entire time. At the identical time that Naruto informed her this, Lucy noticed a shadow behind Naruto of a man who she had met a long time ago after he'd willingly gone to her international in hell. Seeing this, she smiled, understanding that the one she loved became somewhere inside Naruto, even if he doesn't understand it, as she then hugged Naruto tightly and squealed, "You're so cute." The fallen angel pinched his cheek as Naruto pouted before she stopped and stated, "Tell you what, let's make a deal." Naruto looked at her with a curious appearance as he tilted his head and repeated, "A deal?" Lucy nodded her head and stated, "It really is proper. You spot, I'm going to be living on this village anymore, and on account that I will be residing here, I am going to be keeping an eye for your development. If you could impress me, I will get you a number of the ones dumplings covered in syrup." "Dango," Naruto requested as he looked at her in exhilaration at potentially getting a delectable treat. "It truly is proper, and now not simplest that, I will provide you with a massive surprise as well," she stated with a smile as Naruto smiled back at her. "Cool!" Naruto exclaimed in exhilaration, "I can't wait to make you proud, Lucy Ne-chan." Listening to this, Lucy could not assist but blush as she knew that Naruto had just called her massive sister, thanks to her remembering a few lessons she'd been taught approximately the different meanings some phrases have in this world. Although she knew that she should hold Modius from listening to this call for as long as feasible, Lucy having no question that Modius would find some manner to pervert or corrupt such an innocent name. Later at night, "It's about time," Malina exclaimed, getting the opposite lady's attention, as they noticed Lucy taking walks in the direction of them after she'd disappeared hours in the past. "Have you decided on what we are going to be doing?" Lucy nodded her head with a grin as she stated, and for now, we're going to be staying as I met with Darling in advance, and it appears that evidently he does no longer want to leave this place." The alternative girls had been shocked that their queen had met with their cherished one, or even more so, that he didn't need to leave this shitty excuse of a village. But then they started to get annoyed, each due to the fact Lucy got to meet him earlier than them, but additionally due to the fact she failed to try more difficult to persuade him to depart. "Why, failed to you strive harder to get him to depart? Or we may want to have even taken him with us to hell, and now not inside the manner that it might generally sound," Zdrada said with a deadpan expression, as it sounded pretty terrible to the general public. "Due to the fact that would not be us trusting him," Lucy stated as she shook her head, "he desires to live here and prove to everybody of these negative, ignorant souls that they had been incorrect to treat him the way they do now. Do not you keep in mind that our darling did the very same component, while he went to heaven, in spite of having slaughtered heaps, all because he believed that he could prove himself," Lucy exclaimed on the ladies, getting them all to draw back as they remembered what she turned into talking approximately. "We cannot stop him from attaining his aim, nor do we have the proper to take him away simply as it eases our minds. We are staying by means of his facet and assisting him," Lucy said, getting them to agree, till she noticed something. Zdrada. The others turned to study their resident smoker, and saw that she turned into standing next to a building with a lit fit about to touch the wall even as she checked out their chief like a deer stuck in headlights. "What do you observe you are doing?" Lucy requested with a smile that was sickeningly candy. Zdrada looked among the in-shape in her hand and Lucy before responding, I was just gonna release some stress." Maybe purpose a case or two of arson? Lucy sighed as she held her face, shaking her head on the equal time, earlier than searching at Strata and pronouncing, no arson. We are attempting now not to attract interest to ourselves. At the least now not any more than we are able to have while we absorb Darling. Damn it, nice. The resident smoker grunted as she snuffed out the flame earlier than they all realized what their queen just said. Wait, we're doing what now? The queen nodded as she crossed her arms. You heard me. As soon as we settle in and get the entirety we need, including a house, maybe some jobs, and so on, we're going to be taking Darling in. Form of like adopting him. Justice smiled as she placed her palms on hips together with her sunglasses flashing a chunk. So we are going to adopt him, huh? Dibs on being the fun aunt. Damn it, Modius shouted on the usual dibs ruling. Then I'll be Dash. No! Lucy shouted, crossing her hands. We aren't adopting him, we're just taking him in. At this, all the ladies stopped their talks approximately what function they would have in Naruto's lifestyles and looked at their leader for an explanation. If we undertake him, we might be putting ourselves in a role that makes it tough for us to later study us as enthusiasts. I do not want to abuse him looking a mom or sister simply to make it less complicated for us, Lucy says, getting all of the girls to recognize that they hadn't thought approximately it like that. After a moment, Baphomet cleared her throat as she said, okay, so, what precisely can we be doing? Lucy crossed her hands as she gently grinned. Other than changing our plans and transferring them up a chunk, we'll need to solid a large spell. But this will be unlike any spell we have forged, and given that a few of you do not have large reserves, this will motive most of us to be unable to apply magic for pretty a long term. So earlier than we do something, I need to understand, are all of you in? Listening to this, the others checked out Lucy in surprise at what she changed into suggesting, particularly due to the fact being capable of use magic was essential of their lives. Looking at every different for a second, they then returned at their leader with a fire in their eyes as Baphomet asked, what do you need us to do? Listening to this, Lucy smiled as she thanked the girls and said, okay, Pandemonica, I need you to begin looking into any businesses which can be failing or shady and take them. The ones could be our assets of profits. Pandemonica lifted her glasses as she nodded her head and said, I am way in advance of you, my queen. In advance nowadays, before all of us gathered to give our reports, I was investigating certain shops and groups and it seems, quite a few of them were doing very shady offers, embezzling cash, or are just on the threshold of going under. The usage of this fax, I have had the ones embezzling money and appearing shady offers give sign over their corporations to me at the same time as I use the cash from the ones organizations to buy those that have been going under. Lucy grinned as she stated, excellent. Keep up the good paintings coping with those organizations, as we will want a source of earnings. Next, we're going to need a residence, furniture, and the whole lot. Baphomet, Judgment, and Justice, can I go away this to you? Baphomet smiled as she nodded and stated, no issues, I'll deal with finding the suitable house and adorning it, Your Majesty. Judgment and Justice then improved with Judgment announcing, and we will ensure that we aren't cheated or scammed, my lady. We will additionally ensure Baphomet would not pass too goat loopy with the designs, Justice stated with a smile, while Baphomet pouted at this but understood. With that, the institution of demons persisted speak me about what all they had to do and have achieved earlier than they proceeded with casting the spell their queen had deliberate in order for all of them to mixture in, without suspicion. They worked through one half the night earlier than finally completing with all of the preparations, at which point, Lucy had absolutely everyone use as a good deal magic as they made to energy the most important spell any of them had visible. The following morning, Konoha Orphanage Naruto bolted wakeful when he heard the antique caretaker shouting, Hello brat, awaken! We were given a guest coming. After, Naruto got out of his hard, uncomfortable bed, and were given dressed. He went downstairs wherein he saw an older man with gravity-defying silver hair status with a group of little children. As Naruto got here downstairs, he noticed a tall, buff-looking man with short, slick returned black hair and spherical sunglasses. Naruto also noticed that the fellow became sporting a red blouse and black pants with a few fancy footwear. Meanwhile, in the back of the guy, Naruto noticed two ladies peeking out and looking at him. The guy checked out Naruto and squatted down as he said, Howdy, I'm Frank Dose, and also you need to be Naruto? It truly is proper. How do you realize my name? Naruto asked, a bit stressed as to who this individual became. Frank motioned to one of the ladies and stated, my daughter, Lucy, advised me about you and how you didn't have any mother and father. Listening to the call, Naruto looked at the female that was being mentioned and checked out her strangely as he requested, were not you a grown-up the day gone by? The girl in question had long, white hair, pale pores and skin, and pink eyes, and he or she changed into carrying a pink blouse with a black skirt and some sandals. Hearing the question, Lucy giggled as she responded, that is stupid, how ought to I possibly be a grown-up? Do not inform me you notion I used to be a grown-up this complete time? Naruto blushed as he rubbed the return of his head and said, I guess I ought to have been more tired than I notion the day before today from playing with my pals. Lucy giggled earlier than she looked over at the opposite lady and pulled her over, letting Naruto get an excellent study her. Similar to Lucy, the girl had faded, white skin, white hair, and red eyes, but in contrast to Lucy who looked to be full of strength, this female regarded worn out as she wore a red, long-sleeved shirt and black pants with sandals as properly. She additionally wore spherical glasses and her hair, in contrast to Lucy's instantly hair fashion, become curled everywhere in the region. Naruto smiled as he said, good day, it is fine to meet you. The lady, notwithstanding looking at him with worn-out eyes, gave him a small smile as she yawned out, hello, I am Pandemonica. Naruto smiled on the ladies, who smiled returned at him, earlier than they heard chuckling and regarded to see Frank smiling at them as he said, well, it looks to me which you three are getting alongside simply first-rate. At this, the three blushed, before Frank then said, so, Naruto, what do you assert approximately me adopting you? At this, Naruto changed into surprised and bowled over that a person virtually wanted to adopt him, and he abruptly started out tearing up. Feeling this, Naruto fast wiped his face before grinning at Frank and pronouncing, yes. Please adopt me. Frank then stood up as he began rubbing Naruto's head whilst Lucy and Pandemonica began hugging his palms. With that, the four of them left the orphanage, planning to get Naruto some new clothes and some food for all of them to consume. That night after the four of them left the orphanage, that they had bought Naruto a bunch of new clothes, or even sold a ton of meals for them to enjoy once they were given domestic. Before everything, Naruto changed into harassed at how a good deal food that they had sold, but when they got domestic, Naruto understood why they'd offered so much meals. Coming to the residence, Naruto entered and noticed a gaggle of other girls inside the house. Most of them had the same white hair, light, white skin, and purple eyes, and seeing this, Naruto commenced to suppose all of the girls have been sisters. But when he requested Lucy, she told him that other than the organization of three who had been sticking shoulder to shoulder with every different, and the two grumps, the rest of them clearly shared the same feature because they have been all from the identical extended family. Hearing this, Naruto was amazed, however he couldn't help but look at they all in awe and a touch unhappiness, due to the fact even though none of them had their parents like him, due to the fact that Lucy and Pandemonica had informed him that Frank changed into also their adoptive father, all of them had every other, whilst he became completely on my own. Lucy need to have visible that he became sad, seeing that she grabbed his hand, breaking him out of his mind, and dragged him over to the alternative girls, who all smiled and gave him hugs and diverse types of greeting. He changed into introduced to all of them, with they all being greater than happy to welcome him. He appreciated the sisters, though they appreciated to be referred to as Cerberus. He guesses it was because they appreciated to pace together so much. Modius became fine, however, there has been something about the way she checked out him that sent shivers down his spine. Justice become amusing, she turned into very late returned and he ought to inform he'd have fun gambling pranks with her. Judgment appeared a piece strict, but Naruto may want to inform that she become nice beneath it all. Zdrada and Malina had been quality, and he may want to tell that at the same time as they had been grumpy, they did not let it affect how they dealt with others. Finally, there was Baphomet, and he or she become in reality high quality, though Naruto did observe that she appeared to have a bizarre obsession with goats. After introductions, all of them ate together with Naruto sitting subsequent to Lucy and Pandemonica earlier than they eventually had to call it a night time. Naruto smiled as he entered into his new room that had aircon and lots of area, and a large, new, and especially gentle bed. Seeing his bed, he straight away jumped on the bed, loving how smooth it become. Feeling how soft the bed is, Naruto started out to shut his eyes, equipped to doze off in his new domestic with his new family. Knock knock, but earlier than he may want to go to sleep, he heard knocking at his door and sat up to look Lucy at his door. Lucy, are you okay? The young female didn't say something as she appeared down. Can I sleep with you? I had a nightmare. Hearing this, Naruto moved over a bit and patted the mattress as he said, come on, it's K. I have nightmares too every so often and I might want to have a person here with me. At this, Lucy smiled earlier than she quickly came over and joined him in mattress. Naruto felt as she snuggled up in opposition to him whilst he smiled. Just as he become about to get relaxed, he heard steps coming near his door and seemed to peer Modius at his door. Can I be part of two terrible desires? She responded as Naruto nodded. After Modius, one at a time, all the other girls got here to his room as all of them requested if they could sleep with him due to the fact they all suffered nightmares, with Naruto not denying any of them, considering that he cherished the truth that he now should experience his new family surrounding him, giving him the peace of thoughts that he is no longer on my own or in that horrible orphanage. Naruto regarded to see Lucy hugging his left arm. Baphomet became on his chest, dozing softly. Zdrada and Malina were sprawled out next to his feet. Justice was snoring loudly with Judgment silently dozing on top of Justice. Modius become hugging his body while the Cerberus triplets have been hugging his legs with one in among the opposite. Eventually, Pandamonica becomes subsequent to Modius and became hugging his right arm as she had a gentle smile. Seeing all of this, Naruto smiled, glad that he'd subsequently located a family that wanted him and made him experience like he belonged. Final his eyes, Naruto slowly fell asleep as he said thank you. Before he fully fell asleep. Just as he fell asleep, Lucy and the relaxation opened their eyes, searching at Naruto as they all smiled regrettably at Naruto before hugging toward him as all of them fell asleep aside from Lucy, who stayed conscious and checked out the institution earlier than searching at Naruto with a grin earlier than she settled go into reverse and held his arm a chunk tighter than before. I really like you, my king, Lucy said earlier than she kissed his cheek as she and the others all fell asleep, with all of them agreeing the subsequent morning that for the primary time in a long time, they'd in the end slept nicely all over again.